Our next guest has a very simple message. Nothing is impossible if we believe in ourselves. Strange thing, that's what I said to Lana all those years ago. Here's the living proof of positive thinking. Please welcome Gary Schuller. Now, obviously, you believe a good, firm relationship begins with a nice, firm handshake. You've just almost taken my hand off there, Gary. Is that part of the drive and the need to associate and be able to communicate with people?
Well, now, I've always had a good handshake, Bert, and I just thought you'd want me to greet you that way.
Indeed, indeed. I think it's a great thing, because I loathe weak, pithy handshakes, and probably you feel the same way.
Absolutely.
Gary, let me ask you, I'm told that your background has not always necessarily... It doesn't show what you are today. You've had a pretty rugged time early in your life.
I wouldn't say so much rugged, but at the age of 19, I lost my left eye in a very serious car crash. Then a few months after that, my dad committed suicide. Then a few months after that, I got divorced. But as I always say, apart from that, it was a good year, you see, Bert. And it was at that stage in my life that I sat back in a hospital feeling quite sorry for myself. And the nurse, she looked at me, she said, "What's your problem?" I said, "Well, how would you feel if you were in my position?" And she looked at me, she said, "Lucky." I said, "Well, that's an interesting philosophy. Why would you say that?" She said, "Gary, maybe you should concentrate on what you've got left and forget about what you've lost." When you think about it, Bert, that's very true. So many people dwell on the negatives and they don't look for the positives. And that's really what I'm all about, looking for the opportunities and dwelling on them.
Up until that accident, what were you doing with your life?
I'd been a young salesperson in England, very successful, and I'd really learned a lot about handling people and dealing with people on a communication basis. But then I realised that wasn't really all, wasn't all about that. It was about understanding and recognising other people and helping them achieve what they want first. See, too often nowadays people are so busy worrying about what they're going to get out of their lives, they don't put the other person first.
Gary, I think one of the problems is that we hear from so many people, particularly from America, from psychologists and people who are into this business motivation area, that you've got to think positively. Now, it's all very well to give advice, but the important thing is how do you attain it? How do you get that feeling? How do you think positive? How do you keep those right thoughts in your mind and don't fall for the negatives?
Well, I think you've got two choices in life. Things are going to happen anyway, and you've got two ways to look at it. Either you can dwell on it and say, "Man, my life's been destined for gloom," or you can say, "Hey, what is the opportunity?" I'll give you an example. Twice in my life I achieved my goal. My first goal I achieved at the age of 6 when I'm hurtling down the road on my very first bicycle. As I'm going down the road, I see a brick, and I'm thinking, "Man, I'm going to hit that brick, I'm going to hit that brick," and man, I hit it, full on. I had a crossbar. I knew what manhood was at the age of 6, let me tell you that right now. And then second time in my life, 13 years later, I was in a big car crash. I'm going toward the car and thinking, "I'm going to hit that car, I'm going to hit that car," and I did. See, both times I set out to hit the brick and the car, and I did. And I wonder now, if only I'd thought, move to the left or move to the right, I could have avoided this thing. See, really what I'm saying, Bert, is if you see something and you see it as a negative thing, and you see it as an obstacle, if you think about it enough, that's what it becomes. However, how can you maybe create in your mind, okay, here's an obstacle, here's a circumstance, what can I do to avoid this, or what can I do to make this a bit better? So it's really adopting a good attitude.
Do you still feel you're a salesman?
Absolutely. I mean, basically, I believe everybody's a salesperson, a communicator. You know, I mean, we communicate. I'll give you a good example. I mean, you take young tellers in banks and you take school children. They all have to ask questions. They all have to negotiate and communicate, and that's selling.
Well, what are you selling at the moment?
Well, I've always been selling myself, but I've become a fairly well-known public speaker, an author, and recently I've just launched a new cassette called Dynamic Metamorphosis. And what that's about is helping children realise their potential. See, at the age of 7 or 8, you get told by your parents, "Well, man, I'm a negative person." And the parents keep saying, "Yeah, you're going to be a failure in life. You're going to be a failure if you don't get your maths and your English situation." And the more you get told that, the more you become that.
Gary, may I ask you, did you set up that cassette precisely where it is on the table there?
No, it's just circumstantial.
No, I think that is one. I mean, you know television too, because I wondered why you put it up there. And of course, I mean, you've then just got to take a shot of it. So you've got a nice little plug in there. On the up there for thinking, eh? Yeah. I want to ask you, Gary, when you're addressing people about positive thinking and about the ability that we all have, but we don't always use the ability given to us, what sort of reaction do you get? Is it a few of the meetings that I've been to of that nature, after dinner speakers who speak in your mode?
Right.
I feel it's Sunday morning television with those, and strange to say your surname is Schuller, the same as the man that I'm referring to, but they're really selling something. You get carried away with what's being said, then all of a sudden it wears off a couple of hours later.
I understand what you're saying. You're absolutely right. I'm not an evangelist. Let me just qualify that. I'm a very basic man from the East End of England, And basically, I've understood one thing, that if you want to be successful in life, you've got to adopt a good attitude. And interestingly enough, I talk about the very first time as children we climb that tree, and we climb with excitement. We get to the tree and we've conquered the world. Then we come back down. It's then our parents run out and say, hey, did you realise all the dangers attached to climbing that tree? You see, as children, we don't have any fear. And I discovered that it's when you get told as you grow older that it can't be done, it's not possible, that's what you become. So what I'm about is just a very basic man who gets up and says, hey, look at me, if I can be successful, so can anyone else, because there's nothing extraordinary about me.
Just briefly, Gary, what's your next goal and how will you achieve it?
My next goal is already being achieved, is to become one of the greatest public speakers in the world. And the reason I realised I could achieve that is at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what other people think, it's only a perception.
So you believe yourself to be one of the greatest public speakers in the world?
It's my perception. You see, if I were to say to you who the greatest band in the world is, you might say the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, but then we might have the audience say otherwise. In other words, at the end of the day, it's how you see yourself that's important and not how other people see you.
Why?
Because at the end of the day, it's your attitude. You see, if you allow other people to influence the way you feel...
Yeah, but you can have a very lonely life knowing that you're the best public speaker in the world, but no one's coming to hear you speak. Or,
Absolutely good point.
Lying there on your bed. I mean, I think personally I've got quite a nice singing voice, but the people who work on the show feel otherwise. But there's no sense in me just lying in bed watching a statue turn round saying I can sing, you know. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you've got to convince other people too.
I think you use the word convince. I don't believe you should convince, because that's like the evangelism, you know, praise the Lord and let's all get together. I mean, really what I'm about is coming out with a very simple message, and it's interesting. I would suggest that 80 and 90% of our audience are always pleased when they walk away, because they say, man, if this guy can do it, so can I. So what you do is you give them back their own self-image. They walk away and they say, well, look, this guy can do it, so can I. So we're getting big audiences now because people realise that there's nothing glossed about us.
And also you're one of the best in the world.
So I said.
Yeah. OK, that's right. I've heard it somewhere. OK, Gary, well, I'll tell you what, I'll get your home number, and late one Friday night I'll give you a ring, because late on Friday nights I become the best television compere in the world. Now, we can compare notes. Gary Schuller, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to meet you. And we're back with you after this break, and we talk about Diabetes Week.